In the past few days, a surprising political shift has grabbed global attention. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's ready for elections, shortly after US President Donald Trump publicly insisted that Ukraine should hold one. At the same time, Zelensky has pushed back on Trump's peace plan, arguing he hasn't seen the details and is instead working on a peace proposal of his own, supported by European partners. So, what's really going on here? Is this a sign of political flexibility, a move to preserve Ukraine's democratic image, or a calculated strategy to buy time while seeking stronger European backing? Welcome back to TFI Global. Today we break down the politics, the motives, the contradictions, and several possible scenarios for what may happen next. Ukraine has been under martial law for some time now and its elections are long overdue. Citing this reason, even Russia does not consider Zelensky as the legitimate head of the Ukrainian government. Zelensky has previously argued that his country is under martial law and embroiled in a war. Hence, elections are difficult to be held. But now, even the US President Donald Trump is casting aspersions on the legitimacy of Zelensky's rule. However, it is now being reported that Zelensky has finally agreed to an election. He said he is ready for elections with a defined time frame if security and logistical conditions can be guaranteed. That's a very big if. At the same time, Trump has argued that Zelensky rejected a US proposed peace plan without even reviewing it. Zelensky countered by saying he hasn't seen the full details and now wants to create a peace plan led in partnership with European allies. But is Zelensky really leaning towards an election, or is he attempting to stall or mislead the US once more? By saying he's ready for elections, Zelensky neutralizes claims that he's clinging to power. He can say, "We're not avoiding elections, we simply need security conditions." This shifts responsibility outward, not inward. It seems with his calls to draft a European-backed peace plan, Zelensky is sending a message. Ukraine is not solely reliant on the United States. It has other powerful allies and wants a negotiation framework that isn't dominated by Washington. If peace talks eventually begin, Zelensky feels it's better for Ukraine to enter the room with broad international support and his European allies behind him. This combination of moves could very well be intended to buy time while Ukraine recalibrates its diplomatic strategy. Could it be that Zelensky's team is drafting a peace plan with Europe's backing, not America's, and is simply misdirecting Washington until it recalibrates the workaround? Zelensky has made it clear that he will not cede territory to Russia. This stance seems to be backed by the UK, France, Germany, etc. However, it is in complete contrast to the stance of US President Donald Trump. Trump will continue pressuring Kyiv to adopt a US-preferred peace plan. While Zelensky continues resisting, Europe backs Ukraine more strongly, and a split emerges. The US wants fast negotiations, while Europe wants negotiation on Ukraine's terms. Ukraine wants stronger guarantees before signing anything. It has been reported that US negotiators have given Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky days to respond to a peace proposal requiring Kyiv to accept territorial losses to Russia in exchange for unspecified security guarantees. US President Donald Trump was hoping to reach a deal by Christmas. The US president submitted a peace plan in November that reportedly called for Ukraine to withdraw troops from part of Russia's Donbas they currently control, one of Moscow's key conditions for a broad ceasefire. On Tuesday, US President Donald Trump urged Ukraine to hold an election while rebuking Kyiv for talking about a democracy. But if it gets to a point where it's not a democracy anymore. In February, Trump went so far as to brand Zelensky a dictator. Zelensky acknowledged during his trip to London that the US was pushing him towards a compromise, but added that no agreement on territory had been reached. He reiterated that Ukraine was not willing to give up any land without a fight. Ukraine will be ready to conduct elections in the next 60 to 90 days, Zelensky said. He added that he had not discussed the issue with Washington and that he would now ask the Ukrainian parliament to draft amendments to martial law legislation. Zelensky's approval rating has dropped to 20.3%, following a large corruption scandal in the energy sector implicating his close associates, UNN reported, citing an InfoSapiens poll. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has claimed that Russia will achieve all the goals it set out in the special military operation in Ukraine. Russian troops have been making steady gains on different sections of the front line, while Ukrainian commanders say they are outgunned and struggling to replenish battlefield losses with new conscripts. Russia had attempted to diplomatically solve the conflict for 8 years and signed the Minsk agreements, hoping that it could resolve through peaceful means, Putin told India Today last week. However, Western leaders openly admitted later that they never intended to honor those agreements, only signing them to buy Ukraine time to rearm, he said. Russia has now welcomed US President Donald Trump's renewed diplomatic push based on his 28-point peace plan as the basis for a settlement. However, Moscow has argued that Kyiv is stalling peace talks, encouraged by its backers in Western Europe. Russia has maintained that it would prefer a diplomatic settlement, but has stressed that it will push towards its goal using military means while Ukraine delays negotiations. Zelensky is now testing the patience of Donald Trump and risks losing on the US support entirely. Ukraine will either accept the US peace plan or will have to continue the war solely backed by its European allies. The choice is now up to Zelensky: endless destruction of Ukraine or a final deal. What do you think he will choose? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.